Good afternoon, Andrew. It's fantastic. Welcome from a rainy, cold Cape Town. How's Joburg doing?
Oh, really? Mark, Joburg is always good. Blue skies. It just makes me feel like I want to have a bra later on. The weather's good, so I can't complain. No, but Cape Town's like London. It's just the weather's up and down all the time, eh?
It is absolutely drenched. I think we had 36 millimeters last night.
Is it?
I would love to see anybody in Cape Town out right now looking for property, just so I could film that and just laugh.
Absolutely. It is absolutely crazy. But like, Mark, what's been happening with you, man? I mean, this is the coffee chat, by the way, with Andrew and Dave. Today's Andrew and Mark, and I wanted to, and Dave is on leave this week, ladies and gents. Dave needed a few nights off, which is great. And I thought, let's bring Mark along. He's a property coach at the Academy. He's an investor. He's got his own sourcing business. So I want to find out, Mark, what's been happening in your property portfolio? What have you been looking at?
So we've just invested with one of the network guys again. So Louis Skittercott had a deal,
Cool.
kind of posted around as Jade students. So we had a look at it. So we liked the numbers. It's in Cape Town, which is fantastic. Got some investors lined up. Again, you said about a property sourcing business, but I've also got an investor sourcing business using the same methodologies we learned from the deal finding work group. And so we got investors come on board. We're about to sign the deal from that now, and that should hopefully go through. And that's a buy, refurbish, sell. So that should probably take a few months to go through. That's the first one. I don't know if you want to have any more chat around that.
And that deal, where's that deal? Is that Cape Town based?
That is in Cape Town, the northern suburbs. Remember that presentation we had a few weeks ago where I said a nice flipping kind of area in the northern suburbs? It is smack bang in the middle of that middle circle. Like, I don't think he could have gotten any more specific on that. So it's not going to make him a fantastic profit, but it's going to be enough to cut his teeth on the first time. Bring him out a couple of $1,000, 1,000, 100,000, whatever it's going to be for him, just something to get started, which is fantastic news for him.
Okay, cool, man. Go, Louis, eh?
Yeah, no, I'm very impressed. I mean, Jade's been teaching him a lot. He's bringing back. He's gone from zero to quite a beginner investor quite quickly. So all kudos to Jade and how he's actually been coaching him on that. Second one I'm working on. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go for it. Yeah.
Second one I'm going on, like it's probably say I'm more of an investor than a coach because most of my time is on investing, but I do overlap into the coaching side. Second one, we managed to get the refinance done for the property in Johannesburg. That took months and months to get done. Obviously, COVID had a big impact, signing papers here and there. One of the things that came up there for me, which is quite a surprise, is probably quite a learning experience for everybody. The originators now are starting to do electronic signatures, where you go in and you'll sign a pad and it signs all the documents automatically.
Yeah.
And that's fantastic when everybody lives in Joburg. But I live in Cape Town and there's no pad down here for me to sign.
Oh,
and so it's great that technology is coming in, but they haven't quite thought through the entire process for remote investors such as myself, and there's a few more people on the call I know that do remote investing. So that was a very good learning curve. The other one is the one in Bloemfontein. We're doing an installment sale that's gone through Bruno Simão, the brokerage, again from the network. We're about to sign that this week, and then we've got our installment sale running for an Airbnb. The Airbnb's kitted out already. That's great.
Awesome.
So there's been loads of them. So again, and there's still another one, which is still causing a bit of contention with another bond originator. Again, something to know about. Try and force the banks to choose your bond originators. I didn't on this one. We've got this bond originator who is so pedantic. Like, I've had to go and find my mother's and father's birth certificate to prove that they were born in Wales and then get their marriage certificate from 50 years ago because they want to see the original, and they're in Omanus. The bond originators in Joburg, they are so pedantic. Make sure you can force the bank to choose your own bond originators. I used to do it with conveyances. Now I'm forcing them on it. It's a nightmare.
It's just a headache, eh? It's just a mission.
Yeah.
And I mean,
they want to actually come around and do a physical inspection because they don't want to take my statement, my speeding fine, which I managed to get as well, my affidavit from the landlord saying I do live there and I rent out part of the property. It's insane. I mean, I don't know if you had similar experiences.
I haven't actually. It's experience I don't want to have, Mark. So I'll stay clear away from that. But I think very quickly, Mark, let's have a look at Facebook and see who's joining us today. Who's with us so far? We have got Kenya. Good to see the Kenya. Ralph, Ralph's one of our regulars, and Yaku and Clifford. Good to see you guys. Ridwan. As you all know, this is the coffee chat, which is normally Andrew and Dave or Andrew and a guest. We've got Mike Bowen with us today. Talking about what's happening in my portfolio, Mike's portfolio. If you have any friends or colleagues that you know are interested in property, every Monday at 1 o'clock, we go live, we have a cup of coffee, and we talk property, we connect you, we answer your questions. So if you have any questions, please let us know. I'll also let you know what events are happening this week and next. And actually, what we have today, Mark, that's super exciting, is a guest speaker. We've got Silverstein from SSLR. We all know that we all had a family meeting last night with our friend Cyril, where he spoke about the new lockdown regulations. And Cilna said her phone went crazy. But now what happens if your tenants need to move cross-border? What's happening with evictions? Can we still evict in the next 2 weeks? I know Mark's got a few issues as well. So what we'll do in a few minutes is I'm going to bring Silverstein live with Mark and myself, and we're going to ask her a few questions. So if you have any questions in the comments box, please put your comments in, or put your question in the comments box, and we'll have Cilna for about 10 or 15 minutes, which is super powerful because there's quite a bit of uncertainty for property investors right now. So please ask your questions and tag a friend in. Please like this. Please love the page. Let your friends and family know about it. So I think, Mark, what we should do, because I do think that this session is going to be a bit longer than normal, let's go into what events are happening. There's just 3 big events I want to talk about, Mark. Now, Mark, you've obviously attended the premier event at the SA Property Investors Network in the past, right? Which is for the professional members and the intermediate members. Maybe give us a bit of from a client's perspective, why should someone attend that type of event?
So, I mean, you say it so many times, your net worth is your network. I didn't believe that for many years, or at least I never bit in and actually understood what it fully meant for many years. When I did, I got my first partnership up in Joburg with that. I live in Cape Town. It's now been done. And like I said, we just refinanced to get all the money back out. It should be coming back to me. It's the biggest thing that you can have there is the people you're going to meet. They're not going to be curious investors. They're not going to be the people who are just trying. These are investors who are active, like myself, going out, finding property deals. And you speak to them and go, tell me what tell me what you did there. Or can I join with you? Can I partner with you? And that's how it happens. That's how it grows. I think from your own experience, Andrew, the network is your net worth.
Yeah, absolutely. And this Wednesday now, Mark's going to be super powerful because we've got Brett Leon. He's the MD at Lou Geffen Sotheby's International. And something that we're starting to see more of, Mark, is obviously there's a lot of empty commercial buildings right now, Joburg, Pretoria. In fact, I'm busy analyzing a 15-story commercial building in Pretoria with one of my students. And Brett is going to come live with us Wednesday night talking about while we as investors should start thinking about converting commercial into residential, and I'm talking premium micro apartments. Okay, so he's going to talk about what to think about, why should we be thinking of doing that, where the opportunities are. So if anyone's interested in converting commercial units into residential, and Mike, I don't know what your opinion is, but my opinion is that that's going to become more and more common.
I've got no doubt about it. I literally have no doubt about it. I see it in the city center right now of Cape Town. I just see empty, empty, empty. And these are great kind of mixed use where they've got shops on the bottom and offices upstairs. That is great apartment living right there. I can't see why it hasn't exploded as of yet. The more lockdowns are going to come, the more people working from home. I know some companies we've been dealing with are saying, even after COVID's done, I'm only going to bring a fraction of my people back, and I'm going to scale down my office to only like hot desks, and they can come in when they need to. And if there's no space, they can't come in. There's going to be space in commercial.
Absolutely. So that's this Wednesday night, ladies and gents. All of our intermediates and professional members, 6:30 this Wednesday with the SA Property Investors Network. Don't miss out. We then have the 6th of July, which is next Tuesday, which is going to be preferential, will be the guest speaker. Ross Fitzcharles will be talking about vetting tenants and the power around finding the right tenant as well as managing that specific property. That's our expert advice webinar, which is the 6th of July next week. Don't miss that. And I'm going to talk about Investor of the Year towards the end. That's another fantastic competition happening this year, but we'll tackle that later. I think it's time for us to bring on, I'm actually going to get Steyn over here. We're going to bring Steyn live, and I've got a few questions. My phone was ringing last night. I was getting a few questions like, Andrew, what's going to happen to evictions? What about, are tenants allowed to move from Joburg to Durban? I mean, I think, Mark, you have a few questions for Cilna. So for everyone out there, if you do have any questions for Silverstein, please can you let us know in that chat box. And let's just see who has joined us so far while we get Cilna on there. So we've got Yaku. Yaku saying it's definitely a good strategy. Does have a massive knock-on effect on the current residential stock in an area if you look at places like Santon. Absolutely. Redwan was saying people should also be able to book short-term stays for work stays in Gauteng as well. Okay, as far as he understands, Lani's saying Santon commercial buildings have already started converting to reside, and is also they're also filling up quick, which is quite interesting. There we go. Let's see what else we've got. Okay, so I'm just going to get Cilna here. Cilna was with us a few seconds ago.
I'm just chatting to her as we speak, Andrew. She says she can't get her camera on. I'm trying to help her through.
No worries.
Can you let's do a test. Can you guys hear me though?
Yes,
we can hear you.
Loud and clear, but we can't see me. And that is very strange.
Because we saw you a few minutes ago, didn't we?
Exactly.
So keep playing with that. I think what's more important is the knowledge you have and the updates you have. Because Cilna, as you said, Cyril last night, he spoke about the new regulations. And I've had questions, Cilna, around what is happening with eviction? Do they get put on hold? What happens if a tenant, Cilna, and another question came in going, well, I can't get paid. I'm getting no income from my job because of COVID. Are they still obligated to pay rent? Maybe that's, first of all, for the new people, who is Cilna? Can you introduce yourself and then we'll tackle the questions?
Well, clearly, Cilna is that person that had a bit of technical issues there. But other than that, I'm Cilna Steyn. I'm the managing director of SSLR Incorporated. So SSLR, I think, doesn't need too much introduction. We're a specialist property law firm, main focus on rentals and evictions. And I have the privilege of leading an awesome team of attorneys. So that's who I am. And awesome. Very often I actually have my camera on, like right now, but at least you were able to hear me. Cool, how are you guys, though? I haven't said hi.
No, we are fantastic. We were just talking about what events are happening this week. Mark's very busy right now doing deals all over the country. And then we started bringing up last night's speech, and there's a few comments in the Facebook already. So I am encouraging anyone that's got any legal questions around the new lockdown regulations. We do have Cilna for the next 10 to 15 minutes. So please fire those questions away for me. Cool, Cilna. So maybe answer the first couple of questions.
Yes. So the moment, obviously, Cyril says, good evening, my fellow South Africans. My phone starts going mad. We actually received the lockdown regulations already early this morning. It's actually not as bad as people were worried that it is. I think the first thing that I need to mention is, remember, it's adjusted alert level 4. So if you go back to last year, May's alert level 4 regulations, it causes major panic because alert level 4 last year was very different. Where we are now, as you're rightly saying, leisure travel in and out of Gauteng is completely prohibited, because us fun kids in Gauteng are basically all just staying at home, as we can clearly see. I'm happily sitting safely in my own man cave. People are allowed to move, even in Gauteng. So if you have to move house at this stage, you are allowed to do that. Evictions are carrying on as normal. And I think it's important for people to get that message. I've been saying this ad nauseum since last year, May. There is no prohibition on evictions. What we're seeing in the regulations, and we've seen this since last year, May, is nobody may be evicted without a court order. But we haven't seen this since last year, May. We've seen this since 1997 with the promulgation of the Constitution. You need a court order. If you do not go to the right attorneys, and they are not specialists in eviction attorneys, you might run into issues with evictions where you can't execute your eviction. What that means is you have a court order saying that people must move, they don't move. Now, if you do not have a specific order by the court to allow the sheriff to go and actually physically remove the people from the property during the national state of disaster, you're going to have a problem. But it's not a drama. It's actually quite easy to get around that. So it's just a simple application, part of your eviction application, and we can execute. And that was actually the answer to your question, Andrew, about payment of rent. I see it so often that people are under the mistaken belief and impression that if you lost your income as a result of COVID, and obviously the results of COVID, that you are then entitled to not pay your rent. That has never been the case, not even in full lockdown last year, March and April. So rent is definitely due. Obviously, if somebody can't pay rent, the answer would be arrange with the landlord to cancel the agreement, but no tenant is allowed to use COVID and the effects of that to not pay rent. That was a long answer.
Okay, cool. Thank you. I'm just having a look at this statement here, Cilna. Riddle is just saying people should also be able to book short-term stays for work stays in Gauteng as well, as far as I understand. Is Ridwan right?
Very much so. So leisure travel is the only travel to and from Gauteng that is prohibited. Business travel is very much allowed. So definitely accommodation for business purposes would be allowed. Just remember, all gatherings are now prohibited. So not even just less than 50 people. So no work conferences and stuff will be allowed, but travel for business is allowed. So if you have to come and view a property, Michael, you are welcome to pop by and stay in a Airbnb if you have to view properties in Joburg.
Awesome. There we go. I'm going to ask you another question around inspections and viewings. And then, Mark, I'm going to come to you to see if you have any questions for Cilna. So, Cilna, someone's asking us, can we do inspections and viewings in the next 2 weeks?
Definitely. Andrew, there is definitely no prohibition on any work-related things except for the very clear ones. Nightclubs must be closed. Like we saw, restaurants may only do takeaways, things like that. But other than that, there's no prohibitions. So life is basically carrying on as normal for all intents and purposes. What I do recommend is exactly what I did recommend last year in lockdown level 4. That was May last year and June. My recommendation on viewings is open houses isn't really practical at this stage, so I will only do viewings on appointment. Appointment, you are definitely allowed as an agent to say that there can only be one person viewing. So if it's a group of investors, let one go, take photos, send the one with the best eye for a bad ceiling to go and do the viewing. But you can limit the number, and you should limit the number of people there. Maintain social distancing, wear your masks at all times. I have seen this at viewings and inspections. The people say hi with their masks on, and then they drop it under their noses. And I'm like, Cilna, that's not really, it's not, the COVID doesn't wait. No virus ever waits for you to say hi first before it pops up. So wear your mask, sanitize, and keep proper social distance. On entry and exit inspections, my advice is, if you can, if you're in Gauteng, I would prefer that one of the parties stay outside. For instance, the incoming tenant stay outside. Agent goes through with the inspection list, make notes, go outside to discuss, wear your masks, discuss it, allow the tenant to go through. But if you, for instance, in Cape Town right now, nobody is staying outside, you're going to get a flu, or best case scenario. So everybody can go in, but maintain a proper distance and keep masks on and ventilate the building as far as you can while you're doing your entry and exit inspections or viewings.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Cilna. Mike, have you got a question for Cilna?
I did. I had two, but one of them got answered already, and that was around real estate agents. So it's good to hear they can still do it, provided they're being nice. The second one I'm kind of hearing, and I'm part of a lot of mastermind groups and a lot of kind of networking groups as well, is there's a kind of trend picking up with tenants becoming a bit more eviction savvy, knowing how to fight the system, knowing how to play the legal system. What are you seeing in regards to that as well, where tenants are becoming quite sly and ingenious with how to avoid evictions?
Michael, I'm actually sad that you asked this question, because now to answer it, unfortunately, my big belief in life is to be honest. So now I'm going to have to give the full story. At this stage, unfortunately, when evictions become opposed, where we are now, that was the case 2 weeks ago as well in level 3. This is even more so. What we're seeing now is we don't have court directives yet, and we've never had court directives that said we're not allowed to enroll our evictions. But the clerks of the court and the registrars are reluctant at this stage to enroll opposed evictions. And we are seeing that more and more. Luckily, we know our way around it. This morning, I'll tell you a story about this morning. One of our candidate attorneys was doing an eviction in Randburg Magistrates Court. The magistrate said, no, he's not even going to hear her matter because we're in lockdown level 4. Luckily, our candidate attorneys are, brighter than the stars. So she pulled out the regulations. The magistrate didn't even have it at the time. And she got her order. So the reason I'm telling that story is illegal occupants are getting more savvy, and they are opposing matters, and it is delaying matters. The moment you have an opposed eviction, you need to already prepare to add about 2 or potentially 3 months, depending on the court that you are in at this point, because either the opposed motion rolls are overly congested, or on the other hand, you could run into a situation where the registrar or clerk of the court doesn't want to enroll your matter, incorrectly so. But unfortunately, I've seen illegal occupants using this, opposing, and they're going all out at this stage. Seriously, we're seeing the weirdest things that I've never seen before. And I always say, I think doing evictions for the time that we've done it, I've seen everything, and I'm seeing new things. I'm seeing false claims against landlords, criminal cases to try and interfere on the side. So it's a very sad situation. People are getting more savvy. And I think on that topic, my advice to the property owner is, in the old days, I always said, don't do lockouts, don't do utility disconnections. It's spoliation, and you're going to end up with a massive cost order against you. What I'm saying now is, even more so, do not even pull an aggressive WhatsApp. At some stage, that's going to come back to you. And the moment you create animosity between you and the non-paying tenant, they're going to kick and fight until the very last, and it's going to delay your eviction. So my advice is act immediately. Where your tenant doesn't pay rent, don't wait for the 7th of the month. Send your TPN letter of demand on the 2nd of the month already. And then wait your time period, cancel the lease agreement, but don't wait for cancellation and then hold thumbs and hold your breath and hope for the best to get to an eviction attorney. Get you a specialist firm already on day 18, 19, 20 of your letter of demand. So the attorneys can get the papers drafted and we can commence with the eviction before there's tension between the parties. Because the moment that happens, if you're lucky, you end up with, red meat in the ceiling. If you're unlucky, you end up 2 years later in front of the Constitutional Court. So we play it very nicely.
Thank you very much, Cilna. And that is why it's so important that you start off getting the right tenant into the property. And yes, you may get the right tenant. Life does happen. People do lose their jobs. But as investors, we all need to understand that eviction process. You spot on, Cilna. Send that letter on the 2nd of the month. But that is what we're talking about on Tuesday night with Preferential and Ross, talking about rental guarantees, talking about the process. More importantly, talking about how to get the right tenant into your property. There's a question here where I think you have answered some of it from Yaku. Are we expecting additional delays in the legal processes, such as eviction court orders, registrations, etc., as a result of the new regulations? Like we had last year, or would the legal process continue as normal? It seems that the Gauteng courts have been affected heavily.
That is very true, Jaco. I think I've answered in a big way, but only with focus on evictions there. What's important to know is, unfortunately, we do have issues in the deeds offices. They do close. And at this stage, Pretoria isn't just closed because of COVID. There's a massive backlog. The Registrar of Deeds sent an email to all of us just saying, sorry, Ella, we are having a massive delay. The courts are definitely slower because people are closing. And unfortunately, I will have to say this, a lot of attorneys are, well, a lot of businesses, but it includes law firms, are on lower capacity. Us, for instance, SSLR, we have one of our senior associates is really proper sick with COVID, one of our candidates attorneys. So things are moving slower because people are sick. And unfortunately, as much as the flu takes you out for a week, and COVID has a way of really getting you down for 2 weeks or so. So things are definitely slower. And I think this is the time to be extremely patient with everybody, because there's not a lot you can do if we want to enroll matters and there isn't a clerk of the court because all the clerks got sick because they were working together. There's nothing we can do about it. So it is a very frustrating time, and the same goes for the deeds office and everywhere else, and unfortunately municipalities as well. So rates clearance and things like that on the transfer side of things are definitely slower. But I think everybody is doing their absolute best to move as quick as we can. But moving quick is a bit of like running in quicksand right now, right?
Absolutely, Cilna. I think that answers Lenny's question, because Lenny was saying you bought a property, you paid some funds, the registration's now taking longer because of the deeds office. He's now having to pay more occupational rents. He feels it's not his fault. I mean, Cilna, there's not much you can do, is there?
Unfortunately not, Lenny. I'm amazed that I'm answering the questions in advance here. I promise I didn't. I don't have any psychic powers, I promise. Lenny, my advice would be just go back to your OTP. Remember, your offer to purchase and your sale agreement will always contain all the arrangements between the parties. So if there is a clause dealing with Vismail, or for instance, something saying if there's a delay in the process, that is not because of the fault of either one of the parties, this will be the answer. So unfortunately, I can't answer you right out without seeing the offer to purchase, but my answer would be go have a look at your sale agreement. If it says that your occupational rent or whatever would be reduced if a registration is delayed due to no fault of either one of the parties, there could be an answer to that. But if there isn't, unfortunately, the contract will stand as it is.
Absolutely. So there we go, ladies and gents. We're going to have Silverstein for a few more minutes. If you have any questions regarding tenant evictions, what's happening with the new regulations, Silverstein is live with us right now. Please pop your questions into the comments box. So, Cilna, I think what we're going to do is I'm going to go through the events happening this week and next week, and I'm going to bring you back online with me, and we'll see if there's any more questions, and then we'll call it a day, okay?
Perfect.
Excellent. So I'm going to say bye, but I'm going to bring you back soon.
Brilliant.
Andrew, do you want to do mine as well then? Bring yourself to full screen?
No, it's okay. I'll keep you here with me, Mark. Hey, we can talk a bit. So, yes. I mean, it's interesting stuff, Mark, and is this COVID ever going to disappear?
Yeah, I mean, it's the alpha variant, the beta variant, the delta variant. I mean, how many more variants have we got? And now they're saying, from what I hear, that the delta variants, the vaccinations that have been given aren't as effective against this delta variant. Well, what happens when you get E? What's E? Echo variant. I don't know. I don't have a magic ball. I have no idea.
And you know, we had just started going into live events, obviously small events, and naturally, obviously, even last week, we had canceled all live events, going back to virtual events. And luckily, we can still do these events because property never stops. people need to keep paying rent. As landlords, we have to keep paying our bonds. Property does not stop. The will does not stop. But COVID is pulling some hard strings on that, which is very difficult. I think Cilna's spot on. Like, we're just going to have to be patient. What else can we do, Mark?
I know, indeed. And what about you then, from a SAP and TPA perspective? Obviously, you guys have had to pivot now, and I'm presuming that people on this call who've also got their own businesses. How have you guys pivoted with it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so we had to pivot naturally, virtually online, and we're going along a journey now of a hybrid of how do we run small face-to-face events, or keep things one-to-one, or very small but still stream it virtually nationally, and that seems to be working. That's what we were going to do this last weekend, but I think for the next few weeks, Mark, just stop all gatherings, stop all face-to-face interactions, keep everything virtual. Let's keep educating ourselves, still attend all the events, and just make sure that the investors are equipped with the right education. And that is why we have the 6th of July, which is next week, Tuesday, ladies and gents, with Ross Fitzcharles from Preferential. I remember late Ria Nordia always spoke about, why are you worrying about evictions? Let's focus on getting the right tenants into the property, making sure you have the right rental guarantees, the right process, and if things happen to go bad, or if the tenant doesn't pay rent, what should you do? So that is on the 6th of July. Please write that down. You must be a member of the SA Property Investors Network. We'll pop a link in the chat box, in the comments box. Register for that event now, please, to join myself and the rest of the team and Ross talking about that. And this Wednesday night, though, I'm actually super excited. Mark, in the UK and England, the last recession they had, 2007, 2008, the amount of commercial buildings and pubs that got and are getting still converted into residential. I saw thousands of it happening over the last 10 years. But in South Africa, I believe that this is going to be the next trend. I've seen a hotel in Braamfontein. Yes, it wasn't converted to, it is a hotel, and they converted it into residential units, and they're selling those off now as their exit strategy. And now we got Brett Leon from Sotheby's International talking about how he's taken a commercial building and converted to premium micro apartments. So, I mean, Mark, we were saying this earlier. What's your view of the commercial space right now?
I mean, definitely it's tanked. I just looked all through Cape Town. I said it earlier. I go to Cape Town quite a few days in the week to work, and it's just empty building after empty building that I can see everywhere. Shops all just closed down. You can see some new ones have popped up, but like I say, those ones that are upstairs are prime for city living. Now, Cape Town's got this massive drive to turn the CBD into a living space, or at least more of a mixed-use space. And I see all of these massive buildings that are just ripe and ready to be converted. I can't see it not happening. I know that Cape Town's long-term strategies around that. I'm pretty sure Joburg's long-term strategies around that, making the CBD more of a living space, and on the periphery, along the outsides, the special economic zone just up north towards Atlanta's side, that's going to be huge for commercial. But it doesn't mean that people can't live in the cities. They're going to convert that up. It's been happening. It'll continue to happen. It's going to ramp up. We've seen it on the other one as well, is large warehouses being carved up into smaller kind of micro offices almost. And I've seen a massive trend on that as well.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. So I'm super excited, man, because as I said to you, I've got a student right now where we're looking at taking 15 stores of this commercial building that's in good condition and converting it into resi. So I'm super excited about that. So Wednesday night, ladies and gents. Sorry, Buck?
Is that going to be student accommodation?
No, they actually want to keep it as a general, the general working class market, eh? They've already got student accommodation. They're students of mine, and we want to diversify the portfolio. So yeah, I'll let you know how that goes. I'll keep everyone up to date as we move along with that project. So it's this Wednesday at 6:30. If you want to find out more about converting commercial into premium micro apartments, it's for intermediate and professional members of the SA Property Investors Network. If you're brand new to this, you don't know what I'm talking about, click on the link in that comments box and see what it's all about. Now, we do have Silverstein, who's with us right now. Cilna's back. I love this feature, on and off.
I feel a little used, like okay, thanks, Cilna, you're out. Okay, you're back.
Mike's in, Cilna's out. Cilna's out, Mike's in.
You there? Now we see Mark, now we don't. A little inside joke we had before, if everyone's wondering. But hey, it's about having some fun as well, Cilna? These are tough times, and like we used to say last year as well in this COVID update, we just got to have fun, and we just got to stay positive. There is hope, and we can get through all this. I mean, do you have any? I don't see any other questions here. In fact, I think you actually answered. There were a lot of questions, Cilna, but they're all pretty much the same question. So you answered all of those. So thank you very much. Do you have any comments for the audience or anything for the next few weeks? What should people be doing? What should they be thinking?
I wish everybody could would listen to me when the question is what they should be thinking, and I think the answer is keep positive. And we're going through crazy tough times. I mean, I can't even talk about last week Thursday with Rian's funeral. Things are sad and shocking, and there are so many horrible things, and people are really sick. But I think exactly to your point, we really need to keep positive and keep going. And I think as much as I say keep going, I think also just be a little easier on ourselves. We are suffering. I think all the world is suffering from a bit of PTSD, to be honest. And I think we need to acknowledge that. I think we need to realize that everybody is so up in arms about everything, not because there's reason for being up in arms. I think people deal with stress and trauma differently. So for investors, how I bring that around is for any property investor, just sit down and spend a bit of time exercising or outside in the sun before you send that email, before you send that voice note, really going off on someone. Just take a few deep breaths and see if it's really necessary to be this freaking hard on each other. I think it's a very good time to just tap into our kindness and the actual human side of ourselves. It's in these moments where we realize this is the reason why I'm a pretty strong advocate for Ubuntu. I think Ubuntu is exactly that. We just need to appreciate that we're all human and we are all suffering through a very scary thing that we don't necessarily want to admit how scary it is. So I think my message is just let's be kind, keep doing what we're doing, but let's appreciate the world is pretty hard right now.
No, I agree, Cilna, and it's definitely closer to home now, right? Like you said, with Rian and some of my business partners, friends, as COVID thing is getting closer and closer, so we do need to stay home, be patient, be kind, and help each other. Hence why we do these sessions, right? It's helping our investors and giving them advice. So Cilna, thank you for your time, and thank you for reaching out and always helping our audience.
Always a pleasure, and thank you for doing this. I think the value that you are adding is absolutely amazing, and I think this is what the world needs right now, is a leg up for everybody. So thank you for you too.
It is a pleasure. Thank you very much, Cilna, and we'll speak to you soon, Cilna.
Brilliant. It was so nice to be here. Thank you.
Yes.
Cheers, bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
I wanted to add to what Cilna just said quickly, Andrea. I was talking to one of my coaching students last week, and it was around the topic of failure. Now, a lot of us go through times where in property we fail. We try for something and we fail. And the conversation I was happening with him, and I said it to him quite bluntly at the end, was success is actually a series of failures that no one else will ever get to see. Mm-hmm. People won't get to see you stuck in your house and going through those hard times. They won't get to see you having to put those offers out and getting them refused. They won't get to see you getting all the way there and having to, like, I don't know who it was there, having to pay occupational rent, even though it's not his fault. And those are all kind of, my student was seeing that as a failure. And I was saying to him, like, that is not the failure. That's the hurdle and the roadblock we've got to overcome. We've got a new paradigm in our life at the moment around COVID. The success will be, do we keep going and succeed with it despite everything that's happening? And we just got to keep going and keep those failures coming, because as long as we're falling forward and failing forward, we're still progressing.
I agree, Mark. And I mean, property is not easy. I mean, there's so many people that get into property thinking it's a quick, easy, I'm going to make a quick buck, and it's not. What makes it easier is the support that people get. That's what makes it easier. When times are tough and you're down, it's about calling Mark, calling Andrew, calling someone on the network, and just getting a bit of hope, confidence, and just keep going, keep moving forwards. And we do have someone online here, Mark. I see asking a question. I'm considering becoming a property wholesaler, and I'd like to know how you find buyers for the deals you find. So, Mark, you've had some good success with this, right? And you'll be doing the deal finding work group. So why don't you talk about this?
So yes, I mean, I've gone through the deal finding work group with Dave. I've applied it to both sides of the problem. Find the property, find the investments, and the systems that we learned through that are now coming through. How do you become a wholesaler? So first of all, I wouldn't do it without a bit of education. It is going to be very dangerous. I always tell people the same thing. When I tried to buy my first property, I lost 14,000 euros in 1 month. Contrast that to after the education that I went through, a lot of the Property Academy, that was 500,000 Rand profit in 1 day. So take the education first, learn out how to do it. You can't just ask a question as simple as that and expect the answer to be as simple. It is quite convoluted. It takes a lot of time to build up, but there are strategies and techniques out there that if you partner with the right people again and you take the education and find that knowledge, it becomes so much more easier. A couple of ways is quickly to answer your question a bit more directly and bluntly. How do you find these sellers? You need to have a lead generation system. ZahoHomes.co.za is an example of something we built from the deal finding work group to find properties. Car branding I do. It's on the back of my car, leaflets, flyers. You get your name out there. It's not who you know, it's who knows about you. And you need to make sure everybody knows that what you're looking for and that you've niched down exactly to what you're looking for. Andrew is niched. Andrew, I mean, you've niched on Edenvale. You are Mr. Edenvale. Like everyone knows that you Edenvale because you've been doing it for a lot. And you found it as well.
And Mark, my coach said to me 15 years ago, become the expert in your area. And what he was talking about was get your name out there, like you say, because if people don't know you exist, you can't solve their problems. But get to know the agents, get to know the municipalities, get to know shop owners, get to know the neighbors of the properties that you're buying. Get the word out there and just help people. And naturally, when everyone's looking to sell, they'll come to you. And then a big thing for me, Mark, is so if you are starting on a property, even if you've got a few properties and you want to start, wholesaling properties, start building your own network within a network. Start getting a few people around you to believe in you, to trust in you. Start putting together your financial documents. So in here, it'll be a proposal. It'll talk about the deals that you're busy finding. You can put an about me section. I'm Andrew Walker. I'm from Edenvale. I'm looking for multi-lets. And I'm looking for buyers or investors who are looking to buy in Edenvale. This is what a typical deal looks like. And just put a dummy deal up there. And start getting interest from investors. Then go have a coffee session. Well, now obviously a virtual coffee session. Start building your own network within a network, and make sure that you have at least 5 buyers or 5 investors for every deal that you find. So if you can't pick the phone up now to at least 5 investors that'll buy a deal from you or buy into a deal with you, it tells me that you haven't done enough networking. That's the whole point and purpose of why the SA Property Investors Network does exist. Okay, cool. So I think we answered that question. Yes.
I think I may need to go back and watch the fundamentals. I didn't realize it was 5 investors. I heard 15. So I think I went to the nth degree.
Hey, well, 15 is also good. 15 is very good. I still remember I read an estate agency book in London, and that's where I learned to say, even for estate agents, anyone that finds a deal should have their hot book. It's called the Black Book. You said just 5 investors, but you got 15. That's fantastic. Well done, Mark. That is good.
You told me to get 15. Well, at least I read it. If you told me to get 50, I probably would have gone and got 50 before I even did the first one.
Exactly. But that's good. 15 is brilliant, man. And that's why you're flying, right? That's why you're flying.
But let's have a look at that. I mean, let's reverse it to a couple of years ago, before SAP and TPA. I was struggling to find one.
Yeah.
If I look at it now someone said, Lou just had this whole deal. I was like, hang on a second, I'm just putting out a couple of WhatsApp and I'm doing a deal right here as we're online now, negotiating with investors.
Exactly.
But that's because of all the pre-work that we did and all the educational knowledge that I got those years ago. Exactly.
Absolutely. Well done, Mark. And it just shows you, join the network. But I think most of the people I see are the Ridwans of the world, Yakuz, A lot of them are already with Sapin, which is fantastic. Mark, before we finish off, because we spoke about this Wednesday night, the premier event for Sapin, Brett Leon, the MD of Sotheby's International, talking about commercial to resi. Then Tuesday next week, 6th of July, is how to vet your tenants, how to manage your property portfolio. Let's talk about the most exciting one, which is the Investor of the Year 2021. And in fact, what I do want to do for this one as well is I'm going to share my screen over here. I'm going to share this. Mark, tell us what you know about Investor of the Year.
Right, there's multiple categories for this. Okay, this isn't just an don't think of the word Investor of the Year and it's everything. There are multiple categories: best new beginner, best high climber. I can't remember all the words you guys have phrased it as, but seriously, go and enter. If you win one of these categories, your exposure is going to get multiplied tenfold. And again, it's all around the network. It's about who knows you. You can use those things to market yourself. The other channels, the big leagues, I think it was called as well. Then finally, it all comes together to the Investor of the Year. It's coming at the end of the year. I'm hoping this COVID doesn't have any more variants. I want to be there in person for this thing. I really do. Andrew, I see you shared your screen out there. I can't talk enough about this, about how good it's going to be for you. People look at you different when you win these things. You just become a whole new different person. I can't get in on it because I'm a coach. I'm gutted because I've got great deals coming up. But okay, for everyone else, I highly recommend it.
Absolutely. And I mean, Mark, this is the 3rd year running that we're doing this. And it's just a great initiative to recognize South African property investors. And it doesn't matter if you've just done a basic buy-to-let, a little 1-bedroom flat. There's the beginner category, right? So there's like different categories, regardless if you're starting out or you're doing a development. It could be that you used to be the guy doing buy-to-lets and a few multi-lets, and now you want to do a commercial development. You're converting commercial to resi, or you're building some flats. It could be that you're an investor just buying properties every single month, or a property every 2 or 3 months. We have different categories, and we've got some awesome people backing us, or companies, Absa Bank, the Property Academy, Tough, Tile Africa, Private Property, Preferential. And this is an initiative. For example, today, Mark, I'm going to be looking at one of our clients' properties. It's a basic buy-to-let at 5:30 tonight. Every Thursday, we do judging, prelim judging, where people get intimidated, but there's nothing to be intimidated about. All they do is they go to the enter button or the enter menu over here. They enter the deal, and Dave and myself or one of our property coaches will look at the deal, how they did the deal. What were the challenges that they faced? Where did they find the deal? We want to know what the story is behind that deal. Of course, I want to see, did the deal make money? Has it impacted your life in any way? But more importantly for me, it's all about the story, because, I mean, Mark, for the beginners, going back, doing the very first buy-to-let, or venturing into a development, or venturing into your first multi-let can be quite daunting. So a lot of people are going to hear about this Investor of the Year on TV, radio, all our events, and we're encouraging every single one of you to be part of this great initiative, which is all about, changing lives. It's about stories. It's about giving South Africans hope. Property's not going anywhere. COVID will go somewhere one day. We're going to kick it up its asset, but we are going to get rid of it. But Investor of the Year is happening this year. Mark, you would love to enter, wouldn't you?
Oh, I would. I would be entering 3, 4, 5, 6 multiple times. I've got some really cute small ones, but I've also got a couple other big ones would be like awesome. But as a coach, I think it would just be totally unfair to do that.
Exactly. So we encourage all of our students to please enter. But I mean, Mark, wow, that's been a good 48 minutes. It's been quite a good chat. Very, very quickly, what's your plans for this week in terms of your property portfolio? And do you have any last words for the audience?
My week is like getting busier and busier. And I always thought it was a problem not to have properties. Now I'm thinking it's a problem to have too many properties. My big one for the week is we're working with Tanya Scott, and we're partnering up with her to create another sideline business, because property isn't only about buying property. And you said it to me, one of our first coaching sessions we had is build businesses with it. You're doing a lot of good then. You're employing people, you just building an empire. And so this week is with Tanya Scott again. We're looking at Airbnb, so it's called Air Homes, how we can automate Airbnb for people, and we're going to sell that as a product. That is my big one for this week, as well as getting that installment sale agreement across the line. If I can get those two little ones, that'll, compared to everything else, I'll be absolutely thrilled. Andrew, what about you? What's your big three?
So after this call, I must see if a seller is just on OTP for a development in Morningside. So it's 4,000 square meters. We're going to rezone, subdivide, and build 8 properties. I'm super excited about that one. So I must just check my inbox and make sure that's all been cleared. I've got a flip where there's a flip we're working on. We've got a very hot buyer, but now the tenants or the people living there have got COVID, so I've got a bit of a stumbling block there. How do I get the agents in? But like we said, we can, can't we? Cilna just said we can. So I've got to work on. I've got quite a busy week. There's a few deals hanging. I've got 2 deals right now that the brokerage, so Nick and Leon, will be dealing with them. They're 2 multi-let deals. So anyone looking for them, they're small multi. I think like 830,000 purchase, about 250 renovation costs. So it's nothing massive, but it's a small multi-let with option of building more rooms at the back or flats at the back. So yeah, man, we're busy, and it's keeping us busy, as well as making sure these events run for our members. Making sure Wednesday night's going to fly very, very nicely. And we were planned to come see you, Mark, in Cape Town on Saturday for the one-day Wealth Builder workshop. But thank you, COVID, that's not happening anymore. So I'll make sure that I'm at home, spending time with family, and hopefully the Lions. I heard it's the Lions playing the British Irish Lions.
Who's the Lions?
The best team in the country.
Andrew, quick question there. I wouldn't mind digging. Is Leon on Facebook over here? I mean, it's an 830 purchase price, a 250K refurb. What do we look in terms of cash flow? Let's do a deal here. Those are 2 good. Leon, tell me how much money I can make. If it is, let's chat.
I think it was. I can't remember if the initial gross cash was like 15 or 16. Plus options to build more. Leon went through it earlier, but I'm going to catch up with Leon on that as well. So it's not it's not going to give you a massive cash flow. It's a house with what can be two 1-beds.
6.8K. That's his cash flow. Leon, you're going to have me phone calling you after this. For everyone else on the call right now, sorry to interrupt you there, Andrew. There's going to be a deal made. This is how it happens.
That's what I'm saying. Deals are happening. Deals are flowing. And there's another one coming through. So busy, man. But Mark, thank you for stepping in for Dave, man. Great energy. I can see we've got loads of comments. Just remember, ladies and gents, tag in your friends. Let them know. We will be live next Monday at 1 o'clock. And if there's anything specific that you want Dave and Andrew to cover, or any guest speakers, reach out to Sapin. Michelle Swart will definitely help with that. And if we've got to get other guest speakers, we can do that. We want to do what you want us to do. So reach out and let us know. Cool, Mark. I think let's call it a day. What do you say?
Yeah, let's call it a day. Andrew, I actually need to speak to you as well for 5 minutes. I'll call you after the call if you're available, please. After I call Leon, that's my first and most important. I want to make another deal happen if it sounds exciting.
Awesome. So I'm going to take this offline. Everyone, have a great week. Take action, stay in contact, and I'll see most of you on Wednesday night.